It's 1914 in a sleepy Japanese village, and the air is thick with the scent of pine and earth. But something is about to change the vibe forever. An 8-year-old boy named Soichiro Honda is playing in the dirt when he hears a mechanical roar that feels creepy as hell because it is unlike anything his world has ever known. Out of the dust emerges a Ford Model T, a coughing, sputtering beast of iron and oil. And as it passes, Soichiro doesn't just see a car, he sees a ghost from the future, leaving a trail of oil on the ground that he literally kneels down to smell, marking the exact moment his soul becomes tethered to the machine. Growing up as the son of a blacksmith who fixed bicycles on the side, Soichiro is surrounded by the rhythmic clanging of hammers, a sound that feels like a heartbeat, especially since 5 of his siblings had already vanished into the void due to illness, leaving his parents clutching onto him like a fragile hope, even though they hope for nothing more than for him to stay in school. School is a dead zone for him, his mind always drifting to the gears and sprockets in his father's workshop. So at 16, he sees a newspaper ad for Art Shokai, an auto shop in Tokyo, and he bolts from his village with nothing but a dream and a wrench, writing a letter and waiting for the positive reply. But Tokyo isn't the neon paradise he imagined. The shop owner looks at this country kid and hands him a broom and a baby, forcing him to spend months babysitting while the real engines roar just out of reach. But he's too ashamed to crawl back home to his parents and face them without earning anything. So he stays in the shadows. He continues doing the dirty work for months until finally, the owner lets him touch a chassis, and Soichiro devours the knowledge like a starving man, helping build 2 race cars, including the Art Daimler and the Curtis, which eventually take the 1924 Japanese Championship, with Soichiro sitting in the driver AS seat not as a driver, but as a mechanic and engineer. This event makes him view motorsports as his religion, and for next many years, he works there and gains experience. Until at 22 in 1928, his owner opens a branch in Hamamatsu and sends Soichiro there to manage it. He starts with 1 worker and expands to 30 workers in 2 years, becoming a brilliant mechanic and a racing driver, who designs a sports car that goes 120 km/h, a Japanese record that stood for 20 years. But then, in 1936, the cold presence of death almost claims him during a serious race. The crash is horrific. His left arm is fractured, his shoulder is dislocated, and his face is a mask of scars, leaving him broken in a hospital bed where he feels his life has met a tragic end before it even truly began. But Soichiro isn't done. He waits months to get better, and then asks his Art Shokai owner to stop repairing cars, and instead start a new company making spare parts. But the stakeholders don't want the risk, and they reject his idea. So, at 30 in 1937, Soichiro Honda opens Tokai Seki Heavy Industry with his friend and works all day for Art Shokai, then spends his nights in a freezing workshop trying to make piston rings, his body becoming a skeleton of its former self from exhaustion. But he fails repeatedly, getting weaker by the day. To learn metallurgy, he enters a university, and after 3 years of work, in 1939, he finally makes a single piston ring. So he leaves his job and tries full-time piston making, only to find that his design has flaws, and that the giant in the shadows, Toyota, rejects 47 out of his 50 designs. He doesn't quit. He tours the country for years, visiting every factory to learn the unnatural movements of the perfect metal from different manufacturers. And eventually, he makes piston rings that pass Toyota's quality control, winning the contracts and hiring 2,000 workers, allowing him to dream again. But his joy lasts for only a few months. The sky turns black with bombers as Japan enters World War II in 1941, and the ministry takes control of his company, making Soichiro the senior managing director. But things get worse as his workers are drafted into the military. 3 years, he struggles under terrible conditions. And in 1944, a missile slams directly into his factory during an air raid, turning his life's work into a heap of twisted metal and ash. Followed by the nuclear attacks in 1945 that broke Japan's spine and forced a surrender. Left with nothing but some money after selling the remains of his company to Toyota for 450,000 yen. Soichiro sits in the ruins of a country where gas is a myth and the public transport is broken, and everyone is struggling with inflation and a lack of food and water, until he finds a small surplus engine used for radios by the Imperial Army. He has an idea and straps the engine to a bicycle. And suddenly, the Type A is born, a rattling, smoking miracle that every hungry, tired person in Japan wants. But Soichiro doesn't have the money to build them in mass quantities, so he writes 18,000 letters to shop owners, and 3,000 of them send him money before the bikes even exist. For the next 3 years, he makes a motorbike that fits the market, and launches it as the Super Cub, which becomes incredibly successful. And by 1958, it's even outselling Triumph and Harley-Davidson in America. Because of his passion for racing, he starts making sports bikes and goes to races to study the features of winning bikes. And within a few years, he makes a sports bike that takes first position in a 1962 international competition, making Honda famous across the entire world. By 1960, he is the king of the motorcycle world. And by 1968, he sells 10 million units. But the void in his heart still yearns for the four-wheeled beast that started it all. So he decides to go into car manufacturing. His first trucks and sports cars flop hard, but after several years of hard work and dozens of rejected designs, in 1972, the Honda Civic rolls off the line and changes the world forever. Soichiro Honda retires from the company in 1973, and on August 5th, 1991, at 84, the legendary mechanic finally drifted into the ultimate silence, leaving behind a legacy built on the ashes of 1,000 failures.